Tonight, wanted to bring some practice out that I've recently been really just steeping myself in. I went on retreat about a month ago and just found the clarity and the ground, the natural ground, and in practice, and it really kind of opened something for me in my practice. And so tonight, what I thought, there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot of activation, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of sadness, there's a lot of grief. So I thought tonight we could practice and really be in the practice together and set the intention of practice. So the intention for the night, starting now, is that we're practicing. Throughout the duration of this evening, we will stay in a spirit of practice. And what that means for me is that I will say some words, but you know what you need. You know deeply where you are, what your body needs, how you're showing up. So I wanted to offer this practice to you, for you, and in that spirit, inviting you to really be in contact with who's here in your body and your own experience. And I invite you, as I speak, to listen or not listen, to get up, to use the bathroom, to take care of yourself, to treat the remainder of this evening as your time. This practice is for you. And I wanted to offer it in that spirit, as a little respite, as a little refuge, amidst these times, and open with a refuge, ordinary refuge, in bodhicitta, in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Sangha. I take refuge until enlightenment. By the merit of practicing the paramitas, may attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. So to begin, the topic that I wanted to bring forward is about shamatha, which is a calm, abiding style of meditation. And there are two forms in the Tibetan lineages that I follow. There's shamatha with support, which is a calm, abiding meditation with the anchor or an object of focus, usually the breath, but could be anything, a candle, a mantra. And then there's shamatha without support, and that's the one we're going to explore tonight. I'm going to give a little more context to it, but I wanted to start somewhere else as we're kind of grounding, arriving, adjusting to practice. And that is to set up a little bit of settling in, starting with a tiny bit of concept and working into some practice. I was quite surprised at my retreat, studying with a Tibetan teacher, how much focus they placed on the physical and subtle bodies as a preparatory step for nearly any practice. There was a real thorough invitation to understand and attend to the physical and subtle body prior to even thinking about meditation. So I thought that's where we would begin, settling into our physical bodies and then noticing our subtle bodies. And quick description, an illustration of the subtle body. We have, I think of the three bodies: the gross, fleshy, physical, the emotional. Some lineages, some yogic traditions call it the causal body. It's the emotional world that we relate to. And then the third body is a little trickier to understand, the subtle body, but it's been extremely helpful in my practice and extremely helpful as I contemplate our Western experience and practice, particularly because, according to my teacher, we have Westerners generally kind of a subtle body imbalance pretty consistently across our culture. And he describes it this way, and he doesn't use this object, but this came into my mind. It's blue. So, okay. So, in the subtle body, they describe this upward current of energy, this prana, this pranic flow. In the Tibetan lineage, they call it lung. And the lung in Western culture, they refer to as speedy. And my teacher says, he lives in Nepal now, and he says, we don't have this problem the way you guys do, where our subtle bodies don't have this upward speedy. He says almost like he can listen to an average American, or he often picks on Germans, and he's like, there's almost like a wee, like a quality to you guys where you're just like, you're really tight. So he says this subtle body energy, this lung, is this flow of energy coming up this central channel, and ours is too high. It's up here. It's up in our head. It's in our face. And what it means, it's not emotion itself, but it plays. It's a lovely sound. I hope you guys can hear that on the internet. So it plays a role, though, on our emotional body. So I'm feeling a little anxious right now. That's one of my emotional sensations. My subtle body is full of lung up here, okay? So there's this upward flow in this active state. You've heard the sound even as I wrote on this high pitch, ding, ding, ding. It's this like, I'm full. I'm up here. I'm cognizant. I'm sharp. I'm really used to using these faculties quite effectively. And I like having all of these energy resources marshaled up here in the head so I can be reactive as possible. And even the Western face, our faces tend to get bigger, and our noses and our ears and our eyes, we get bigger. There's a little bit of dullness in the vision, but what you see happening here is there's an inflation of the emotion. So the subtle body is not corresponding to the emotion itself, but it's inflating it, and it's really pressed. So what we'll do to start with practice-wise, we'll take some of the energy out of the balloon, and the emotion itself is healthy. These emotions, we tend to think we need to excavate them, that there's a problem with the emotion itself. The emotion is just part of who we are. But this subtle body energy has brought these emotions out, and they have nowhere to go. They're just. So the practice that my Tibetan teacher uses before every set is a balancing of the subtle body energy. So I'll invite you to get comfortable in your seat. Bring your body into an upright posture. And taking a breath and just kind of another breath. Out. We're going to start by place your right index finger on your right nostril. You're going to breathe in and out of that nostril 3 times with about a 4 or 5 second inhalation. So we'll breathe in and breathe out. Same nostril, breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. And we'll move to the other nostril, left index finger, left nostril. Breathing in for 4. Breathing out for 4. Allowing the breath to come back. We're going to start to visualize this energy, this pranic balloon. And we're going to start to invite that energy down into its home. And the home for this energy is about 2 inches below the navel in this region of the belly, sometimes referred to as the dantian, below the navel. I invite you to kind of, if you're comfortable with this, feel this area under your navel with both hands, and just kind of hold it. What I like to do is just bring my fingers so they're just almost overlapping down there. And the goal, this technique is called Vas or vase breathing. The goal is to visualize this basket, and this pranic energy is almost like a snake. And this basket below the navel is the healthy place for this subtle body energy to reside. And so we start, before we focus on our breathing, we just start by bringing our awareness and our energy to this region below the navel. And we just start to visualize a space there. And almost like honey dripping down a bottle, we're imagining space. And so the Vas breathing technique is, on an in-breath, you kind of bring the belly out and down. And you hold it down for the duration of the in-breath. So we'll breathe in, and you kind of just gently let the belly kind of fall down. The transverse abdominis just kind of goes out and down. And we can feel this space. You can kind of let it go. But on the in-breath, you're feeling this space, and you almost feel the fingers kind of move out like this as they're breathing. And we'll hold this for 1, 2, 3, 4. Let it come back. And then out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let it relax. We're really visualizing this energy moving down as we inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just inviting you on your own to experience this movement. It's an in-breath, and then you're holding the in-breath in as the belly goes out and down. So you're feeling this dropping motion as well. And you're visualizing this energy moving, and you can almost feel your eyes will get almost a little cooler. And the belly, even in between the in and out breaths, the belly can stay slightly out and down. And people like my teacher will drive in the car like this. He'll, if he's in a meeting or in a stressful situation, he'll notice that his lung is active, and he'll just bring the belly out to let that energy come down. And I'll notice for myself this lung energy, it feels like speediness. But as the balloon deflates, we start to feel like practice is more available. We allow that energy to discharge. And initially, we might notice a sleepiness, or a slightly tingly feeling, but we're allowing that energy to just keep falling in the body. we can start to notice how just this energetic movement gives us the capacity for meditation. We can rest. And as we come back into our bodies, I invite you to retain this connection with the low belly. And you don't have to be overly dramatic about it, but I invite you to just kind of move slowly through the rest of our practice and start to notice if you feel the lung want to come up out of its home. It almost, to me, sometimes feels like I'm squeezing a ketchup bottle. And what you should know is it's it's pretty speedy to come up. We're very accustomed to, sometimes I eat with this speedy energy. I talk with this energy. Sometimes I even drive with this energy. And it changes the quality of what you're doing. It inflates the balloon. But without going into some other mental, non-mental space, that there's this physical practice that we can do to just ground and settle the body. That even as I talk, this energy is resting in your body. The honey is dripping down to this area with your awareness. And if you feel the balloon come up, I invite you to return to the Vast breathing technique. Even if you don't feel the lung, I invite you to return to the Vast breathing technique. Bringing a breath in, dropping the belly out and down. Exhaling. Breathing in, dropping the belly out and down. We really don't need to make this practice too precious. This is physical. And it corresponds with a subtle body that we don't understand. But it's a practice like yoga or like anything else that is setting us up for our contemplative practice. And as we prepare for a cookie break and the second half of our practice, I invite you to watch this lung energy. If you're going to talk to your neighbors and eat, I invite you to keep awareness on this region, to keep the energy. If it comes up, don't worry about it, but just watch for this quality of speediness. And be mindful that I like to think of these two speed limits. The body has a speed limit and the mind has a speed limit. And the body's speed limit is much, much slower than the speed limit of the mind. And one tool we have is to anchor the mind to the body with the breath. And that is the basis of shamatha, is anchoring the body to the breath, anchoring the mind to the body, bringing these speed limits into coherence. And I find that when the mind and the body speed limits are in coherence, the lung is less of an issue. But it's hard to have a conversation and be with the breath all the time. But we're going to break here for cookies, and we will return in about 10 minutes for some practice. Just watch that lung, and you don't need to contain it. You can be joyful and talk and have some movement, but just watch. If you're eating a cookie and you're like this, just maybe slow down a little bit. Okay, 10 minutes. We'll start out, if your body feels able, follow this. If it not, or if you don't feel like it, don't worry about it. But I invite you to stand up and give a little shake, get a little bounce in the knees, and just kind of let the upper body just kind of shake. And I invite you to get a little out breath going. All right, we're going to, in about 5 seconds, we're going to put our hands on our legs and we're going to let a big sigh, big out breath. 1, 2, 3. Oh. All right, we're going to do one more shake. This practice is called dropping. We're going to let whatever remaining subtle body energy we have drop. A little out breath going. 3, 2, 1. All right, now sit. Please be seated. Now that we have grounded the body and the energy, we've created the capacity for shamatha without support. Calm abiding without an object of focus. In this practice, whatever happens, happens. Whatever doesn't happen, doesn't happen. There is no object. There is no goal. The mind is a clear ocean, crystal clear. And in that crystal clarity, there are brilliantly colorful fish. In this practice, we are resting in the ocean as the ocean. The fish are the thoughts. We are neither watching them nor ignoring them. We are relaxing into the effortless ocean that is the ground. The clarity of the ground. And if you find a difficulty moving from the fish to the ocean, just be aware that you don't need to construct this clarity. This is the clarity that is underneath. Settle into this clarity. As I ring my gong, I'm just inviting you to let go of the fish and settle into the clarity, the clear ocean where cognizance meets clarity. You're not focusing on the gong, you're resting as the ocean. Because you are it, you don't need to do anything about it. You're resting in the clarity. You're not suppressing the thoughts. You're just not joining with them. The fish can swim by as they please. You are the still, clear ocean. Once more, letting go of the thoughts. state where you don't have to do anything at all. The basic okayness. Where awareness meets clarity. Fish are just fish. I invite you to come back and stay with the clarity. Feel what it's like to open your eyes in the clarity. Even here, the fish are just fish. I'm going to close with a dedication of merit. I'll say it once in Tibetan and once in English. Please forgive my Tibetan. Sonam di chamche zikpa ni tobne nye pedra nam panche ne kega nachi balab chupayi si pe sole drowa sho. By this merit, may omniscience be attained, and may the adversary kleshas be conquered from the ocean of samsara with its stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. May all sentient beings be freed. And I also would like to dedicate this practice to those who are suffering, those who are underwater, those whose lives have been lost, those families who are dealing with the wreckage of the storm. They're still underwater. Our hearts are with them. Our practice is with them. Thank you all for coming.